The Galactic Conclave Detention Committee was well aware of its role in maintaining interspecies peace. Its secure prison facilities were among the most heavily fortified structures in the galaxy, housing war criminals, pirates, and rogue military operatives from countless planets. It was a carefully balanced system of containment and coexistence, one that had been developed and refined over centuries. Then, humanity joined the galaxy. Humans, though new to the conclave, had quickly earned a reputation as relentless soldiers, tenacious explorers, and adaptive survivalists. The galaxy watched with a mixture of curiosity and caution as humanity made a name for itself. The conclave anticipated that humans would eventually end up in their detention facilities, as every other species did, so they started preparing early. The first few human prisoners were scattered across various conclave high-security facilities, each placed in the standard holding cells alongside alien criminals. The idea was that humans would integrate into the regular population without issue. After all, the cells were secure, the guards were armed, and the humans, though capable, were nothing the conclave couldn't handle. Or so they thought. The first incident occurred at Raxa 9 detention station, where a human marine named Lieutenant Rachel Tan had been detained for a minor interplanetary misunderstanding with a Yillan diplomat. She was placed in a shared facility alongside various aliens, most notably the towering, insectoid Kreekath and a group of Argarin thieves known for their intimidation tactics. By the third day, the guards noticed something strange. The usual conflicts among prisoners had completely stopped. The Kreekath, who often harassed newcomers, were strangely quiet. Surveillance footage revealed why. Lieutenant Tan had, in just 72 hours, gained the trust of a dozen prisoners by exchanging tactics and survival stories. She'd organized her cellmates into something resembling a small military unit, conducting quiet training exercises in the yard. She'd even brokered a truce between two rival Argarin factions who'd been at each other's throats for months. When the guards approached Tan to question her, she smiled and shrugged. "Just keeping morale up," she said, a mischievous twinkle in her eye. The facility administrators dismissed it as a fluke. They isolated Tan, thinking that would solve the problem. But soon, other incidents began to crop up across multiple facilities. In the high-security prison on Velas Prime, an unassuming human petty officer named Mason Collins had been detained for an unauthorized landing on a restricted planet. Within days, he'd started teaching other prisoners. Collins somehow convinced an entire cell block of cutthroat criminals to engage in daily workout routines. The guards found him one day leading a class of Krag, Futharki, and even a few venomous Gynorok aliens in exercises and sparring. The result? The prisoners were more organized, stronger, and uncharacteristically cooperative. Then there was SSG Laura Hayes, a Special Forces operative who'd been picked up on espionage charges in conclave space. Hayes, unlike the others, wasn't interested in diplomacy or fitness regimens. She was interested in escape. By the time the guards at her facility noticed, Hayes had already mapped out the guard patrol routes, memorized the door lock timings, and managed to start a smuggling ring that supplied her with materials to work on a makeshift grappling hook. She'd recruited a team of Vals, known for their engineering skills, and several Cerithians who specialized in electronics. Together, they'd nearly tunneled out of the compound before being caught. Hayes merely smirked when confronted. "If I can get out, you need to tighten security." The conclave was quickly overwhelmed with reports of human prisoners inspiring, organizing, and in some cases completely taking over entire cell blocks. Regular containment protocols were not enough. Human prisoners were unnervingly adaptive, finding ways to turn even the smallest advantage to their favor. It wasn't that humans were the physically strongest species in the galaxy, far from it. But they possessed a unique blend of resilience, cunning, and charisma that no one had anticipated. A single human, placed among aliens accustomed to traditional hierarchies and rigid power dynamics, could destabilize an entire facility in days. Finally, the conclave decided it was time to contain human prisoners separately. They designated a remote facility on the frozen moon of Ravos 12. It was outfitted with the latest in surveillance technology, built specifically to handle the human adaptability problem. The facility had automated guard drones, rotating shift patterns, and no non-human prisoners. The rationale was simple: isolate humans from other species to prevent them from gaining influence over the alien inmates. Ravo's 12 quickly became known as the Frost. Only human prisoners were kept there, each one isolated, observed, and carefully managed. But even the Frost couldn't fully contain them. Take Private Zeke Martinez, a mechanic and a low-ranking engineer who had ended up in the Frost after a smuggling incident. Even in isolation, Martinez managed to become a headache for his captors. With just the tools they allowed for basic maintenance, he dismantled and rewired his cell's security system, turning his light fixture into a covert transmitter that broadcasted music, defying the silence of solitary confinement. Then there was Sergeant Eli Roberts, who saw the Frost as the ultimate survival challenge. He rationed his food more efficiently than any prisoner they'd seen, stored spare bedding to create extra insulation, and figured out how to siphon a bit of extra heat from the ventilation system. Before long, he had made his cell more comfortable than any of the staff had ever anticipated. Even with advanced security measures, the guards found themselves constantly thwarted by human ingenuity. They couldn't stop humans from working together even when separated. They would tap messages through walls or communicate in ways the guards struggled to anticipate. Humans found ways to bend or break nearly every rule. When the Conclave sent a high-ranking investigator to observe the human prisoners firsthand, she asked one of the guards, a seasoned Xyrelian, why even the newest containment measures seemed insufficient. The guard replied grimly, "Humans don't just endure, they adapt. They inspire. And they never, ever, stop finding solutions." It became an open secret in the galaxy: if a human was detained, they went straight to the Frost. No exceptions, no chances. Other species began to understand why, and most saw the wisdom in the decision. But to the humans in the Frost, the Conclave's precautions were merely a challenge. Each new measure the Conclave introduced only inspired them to think faster, work harder, and find new ways to outsmart their captors. And as for Lieutenant Tan, SSG Hayes, Private Martinez, and the others, well, rumor had it that they'd formed their own network within the Frost, a kind of underground alliance of the most cunning human minds the galaxy had ever known. To this day, the Conclave still wonders what might happen if they ever miscalculated and allowed the humans a single opportunity. Because if there was one thing the galaxy had learned, it was this: you could imprison a human, but you could never truly contain them.